Okay.
Hi, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, and good day, wherever you're joining us from. You're welcome to our number one show, The Niger We Want. Joining me is Mr. Wale Olaiton, our intercontinental moderator, and then Mr. Elvis Nwachukwu Igbokweno.
Igbo Kwenu. Thank you,
Yeah.
Dr. Vicky.
Mr.
Hi,
Wale
Wally.
Olaiton, you're welcome.
Good evening, viewers.
Good,
It's a bit
good,
low. Is it your end or is it my hand? Let's see.
good evening, Dr.
Oh
Vicky,
yes,
and
it's my hand. It's my hand. It's my hand. Okay,
Mr.
welcome,
Nwachukwu.
welcome,
Good to see you
welcome.
again.
It's nice to see you
Thank you.
too. Sorry, I totally lost the track of time. I saw your message. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna go. Okay, so welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Elvis. It's been a while.
Yes, I've been all over the place. Just trying to get things done. I've been under the pump, and
Hmm.
yeah, I've got some time on my hands tonight, and I thought, look, I need to join. I've missed the show.
Definitely. Welcome. And our dear Egbon, Mr. Shodimu, you're welcome to the show.
Oh yes, unfortunately I'm in transit and I'm having a battle with network, but let me just try as much as I can. I
All
have
right.
a movie production. I just did my radio program now, and I'm off to a location for a movie production, and they're
Oh, okay.
screaming "No more" for my being late. Yeah, we'll see
All
as it
right.
goes. Hi, Wale.
All right.
Yeah, go on. I'm very well. Good day to you.
How are you, sir? It's good to
I'm
see
very well,
Elvis.
sir.
It's good to see Elvis. You don't try any 2G anything today. Oh. Wale had his own fair share last week.
I had my last week, and hopefully I'll be good today.
Elvis,
Yeah.
Elvis, here's the link. Oh, you have the link. It's the same link. Oh, you're talking about how the our audience can watch us. All right,
No,
I'll
no.
do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'll
Are,
send that through now.
are we live?
Yes, we're live. We're live.
Elvis, it's nice to see you.
We're live.
Okay.
All right. So let's just get into it. It's good to see everybody. It's always good when we have a full house. Wale and I we've done some solo work in the past, so quite intense, but we did it. We did it. So
We did.
um yeah, now having everybody on tonight is beautiful. It's really lovely to see. So how has it been for everyone? What is trending on your hand?
Yeah, I will give Elvis. He has not been here for a while. I'll give Elvis to have a go. What have you been up to, my brother?
Thanks, Wally.
Ah,
Uh,
2G. Elvis is on 2G, oh, Egbon. Egbon, ah.
okay, we've lost Egbon, so it's only me and you now.
All right. So I think we'll
Um,
start with you. What's trending on your hand?
Yeah, nothing much really. My life has been pretty boring recently. Nothing out of ordinary work like everyone else. Um, soccer has been keeping me busy, so that's a
Yeah.
bit of refreshing things outside normal Ozu. So I've seen two quarterfinals today. I saw Sweden beat Japan tonight 2-1.
Oh,
Sorry, that could be a spoiler for some people hoping to see the match later on. But yeah, Sweden is through.
was this Sweden that sent USA packing?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So yeah, you're getting
Oh,
into it now. So yeah,
No, I
Sweden
only
sent.
watched that one. You won't believe it. That was the only one I watched, and I was actually forced because
Okay,
everybody wanted to watch it, and so I just sat down there working at the same time, just glancing up and down.
okay.
It's not my
So
thing at all.
yeah, so that was in the round of 16. So they accounted for the United States, and then they played their quarterfinals tonight against Japan. They won. It was one-sided affair. I was expecting a more competitive game. So Sweden, they won against Japan 2-1. So they are through to the semifinals. In another quarterfinal game,
Japan actually surprised me. Honestly, Japan surprised me. They played against who? Was it
they, in their round of Japan, yeah, I'm getting the things mixed up now.
Japan
They,
played against this South American country that plays soccer really well.
I think it was against Jamaica or Japan. Yeah, look,
No.
I'm getting the groups mixed
Yeah.
up in my head now.
And they
But
played really well. I was
they,
surprised.
they are. They've been
Mm.
playing well since they hosted a World Cup, Korea, Japan. On top of my head, that was Korea, Japan. Was it 2002? On top of my head. So they hosted that World Cup, and since that time, they've been tremendous improvements in their
Mm.
level of competitiveness and even the game over there. So in the
Yeah.
other game, this evening, Spain accounted for Netherlands 2-1 in the
Mm.
quarterfinals. So they've progressed to the semi-final. And tomorrow, Maltesers will play against France in the quarterfinals. The whole country will be cheering for Maltesers tomorrow. And also in the last quarter final tomorrow, England
Mm.
will be playing against Colombia. So to
Okay.
decide, will progress to the semi-final. So that is what I've been doing. Outside work has been soccer, replay, watching. So that is
Mm.
what has kept me a bit rejuvenated,
You see.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So I'll just
Mm.
stop there. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had one of those weeks. I got back and I was just there looking like a Lucozade in front of the TV. My brain wasn't, that was why I totally forgot about the time. So, Mr. Edison Wachuku, what's been happening on your hand? And what's been happening?
Well, Wale, I mean, I'm kind of envious. For me, outside work, you've been doing some catch up, right? For me, outside work, it's been work. So I've literally been bombarded. There's a lot going on, a lot of catching up to do, and in the last few weeks, that's really kept me busy. No wonder I've missed the show a couple of weeks now. Yeah. Other than that, the usual stuff. A few social events here and there, but what's taking precedence is what like is the work that we've been doing. Yeah, that's kept me really engaged. Yeah. So is this part about what we've been doing or what's
Yes.
trending? Well,
No, you can move on to what is trending for you.
all right. So I guess I'm sure you guys would have come across this one as well. So at the it's to do with the Senate president at the end of their session. I didn't realize it was still on national TV. In the midst of so much hunger, anguish, and suffering that Nigerians are going through, he made that announcement. That monies had been a token had been sent into the bank accounts of other senators who were in the House. And then I think someone in the House had to remind him, okay, we're still on national TV. And there was a U-turn because I withdraw that statement. I've sent prayers to your email, your emails. So I don't know how people receive prayers via their emails. But he only says one thing, as far as I'm concerned, that these guys who are saddled with the responsibility of managing the affairs of Nigeria really don't care about the people. I mean, with the increase in the cost of living, petrol and everything, people can't even run their cars anymore. Nigerians have been compelled, to exercise by force, whether they like it or not. I've seen instances where people park their cars and they're doing long walks. On the other end, you have those who are meant to be looking after them, sharing money, and it just tells me nobody cares, and it makes my heart bleed. So that's what trending for me. In a nutshell.
Thank you, Mr. Elvis. May God help us in Nigeria.
Amen.
What's trending on your part, Mr. Olaito?
Yeah, what's trending on my part also has to do with the current state of affairs and the challenges before the government. And obviously, there was a meeting between the WTO president, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. So she had a meeting with President Tinubu a few days ago, and the most interesting part is that following that meeting, she actually made a statement, and I would just like to read it because she came under severe, attacks, for meeting the president. And I'm concerned because no matter our level of, differences, of opinions, it's still, democracy, and people are still allowed, and they still have the right to meet whether they want to meet and to freely associate and express, their views without coming under any attack. So in a statement, issued by Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, are you there? Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, because I just want to be sure because I know, I know. Okay, so she in that statement she said, "I keep receiving toxic calls and messages regarding my meeting with the president yesterday, and from those I hold in very high esteem. Honestly, I'm shocked at the contents of the messages and the tone of the callers. As Nigeria sunk this low, a visit I made to the good, a visit I made for the good of our dear nation is what they are using to threaten my life and family. You don't recognize someone as your president, yet begging him to save you from the hands of killers in your region. I am bringing investors to Nigeria using the president's commendable policies as bait. Is that too difficult to understand?" So that was part of the statement issued by Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. So my point is that she visited Nigeria in her capacity as the WTO president, the Global World Trade Organization, discussing a lot of policies and like expected of a person of her position. And it is quite alarming that for that some people had very strong opposition to that. And not just having strong opposition to that, they actually, based on what she said, they reached out to her, threatening her and threatening her family. It is unacceptable in any form. It is a democracy. People should be allowed to express their views, and freedom of association is an integral part of of any democratic society. So yeah, so that is what is trending for me.
You won't believe it. That was what I wanted to share. Um, oh, our producer just sent us a message that there is another report that Okonjo Iweala did not make that statement trending online.
Okay. Okay.
So you never know. But if it happened, then it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be, because at the end of the day, um, we want the best for this country. whichever side you're on. And if this woman is doing her best, being an influential woman on the world stage, and is trying to add value to this country by bringing investors, why not? Why not? So, but we're not sure. Is it?
Yeah,
Did
so
she?
look, yeah, look,
Did she? We don't know.
yeah, okay.
We don't know. But that was what we read, and that was actually what I wanted to share
Oh,
before
okay.
you shared it. So yeah, but if that happened, then is it right? Absolutely not. It's not. So thank you for sharing all that. Let's get into today's topic. Today's topic is something that we see happening again and again and again and again. It's for as a parent, we are all parents on this platform. All this we panelists, we're all parents, and I look at that and I thought, nah, this is something none of us pray for. This is something that we don't even pray to happen to our enemies. So let's get into it, Mr. Wale Olaito.
Yeah, thank you. If you just joining us here, your number one show, the Nigeria we want, our focus today is on safety and maintenance in the country with the specific topic, outrage over infrastructure neglects at Lagos Hospital as young doctor Diaso Vwaere dies in elevator accident. Courtesy of our producer, Mr. Alabi, I quickly produced this background information. The death of the young and promising medical doctor Diaso Vwaere on the 1st of August 2023 is another sad reminder of the decay in infrastructure and maintenance safety policy and poor emergency services in Nigeria. Fresh from medical school and just 2 weeks away from completing her housemanship at the General Hospital, Lagos Island, Diaso took the lift on the ninth floor to the ground floor to meet the dispatch rider who brought her food. The fateful Tuesday, luck ran against Diaso as the elevator, said to have been malfunctioning for almost 6 years, crashed from the ninth to the ground floor, snuffing life out of the young doctor with all her promise and potential. A death sparked outrage from many people who blamed the sad incident on negligence, inefficient facilities, poor safety measures, and inadequate emergency care at the hospital. As part of the resolutions of the panel set up to look into the causes of the accident, the Lagos government sacked and blacklisted the facility managers in charge of the hospital and suspended the general manager of the Lagos Infrastructure and Asset Management Agency, LASIAMA. So on this program, we'll be asking, so how many Nigerians, how many more Nigerians we have to die before the infrastructure and safety issues get the deserved attention in that country? So I'll go straight to our panelists, and I'll start from Mr. Onwashuko. How many more people we have to die before infrastructure and safety issues get attention in Nigeria? Mr. Onwashuko.
Well, that's a tough one. Honestly, I don't know how many more need to die. You know, a lot of people have passed on, you know, due to the inadequacies or the problems associated with people not doing what they are meant to do. People who are placed in the right positions to look at facilities are not, you know, are not bothered. In some quarters, I don't know how far it is true. I understand. I read some monies have been allocated to, you know, obviously fixing that lift in question, and that nothing was done about it. I mean, for that for that lift to have malfunctioned in that way, it didn't just happen in one day. There would have been signs prior. Obviously, like everything else, people will think it's always business as usual, and our attitude towards safety is something that we need to obviously improve upon in a lot of ways. It can't continue like this. I mean, people have been fired. Yes, good move. However, if that happened in a climb like this, you and I, will agree that it's not just firing people. People will be facing the courts due to
Exactly. Manslaughter.
manslaughter, negligence, and all of that. People will go to jail. Perhaps we need to take these issues more seriously. There need to be consequences for such behavior. Just sacking the facility managers and the manager of that facility, in my opinion, is not sufficient. There need to be more stringent measures in place, more punitive measures, need to be applied. And, hopefully that way people will learn their lessons as to, it just tells you how much value we place on people's lives. I mean, this surely can be the first case. I recall in the 90s, I was in a lift in Lagos, the Nikon building. I think I was coming down from the 13th floor, either 13th or 17th floor. I got stuck midway, myself, and I think that lady then, I was a younger person, should have been in her 50s. While we were practically, we got lucky. It got stuck in the middle. We had to be removed from that lift, because it was hanging in between two levels. And luckily for us, they managed to open, the panels, and that's where we climbed out of. Who knows? It could have been me, it could have been anybody. I got lucky, but this lady wasn't so lucky. So our attitude needs to change, towards. I mean, that's one thing that is really lacking. We build beautiful facilities, we build, nice infrastructures, but we lack that maintenance culture. Nobody cares. Nobody really cares until it begins to happen to them, and then nobody. I'm not sure anybody's willing to do anything. Just compare it to when we had COVID. That was the best moment for me, where no, there were flight restrictions. Nobody could travel, and I heard Nigerians were saying that, look, we live here, we die here, so we'll be subject to the same hospital facilities. We'll be subject to the same doctors. So until something serious happens in that place, in that space, it's a big concern. Yeah. So people don't care.
Thank you. And on that same question, Dr. Vicky, how many more people will have to die before the infrastructure and safety issues get attention in Nigeria?
It's even we've had too many die for negligence. How can you provide accommodation with so many levels with no working lift? How can you do that? How can you do that? And these young people, they're not there because they just want to have fun. They're not there because they want to have parties, and they're there to live there, to work with those who are struggling, those who need support, who need help. They are there to work. As medical doctors, we know how long it takes in Nigeria. We know how expensive this girl went to an expensive school. And for what at the end of the day? Because somewhere didn't do what they're supposed to do. Just imagine that kind of death. It just makes me so angry. I mean, how can you do this? And how can that person collect the money that was supposed to be used to fix something like this so that these people can do what they're there for? The question is, how many more lives should go because of somebody neglected to do what they're supposed to do? The answer is, until government start, yes, they've sacked them. Like Elvis said, sacking is not enough. Whomever was paid to fix that lift must be brought to justice. What they've done is what we call manslaughter and many other names in law. Just can't. Nobody should go scot-free. Somebody needs to be brought to book about this. Something needs to be done. And like I've always said, until people are getting punished for doing wrong things that lead to other people's death, people will not sit up. No one will do the right thing because doesn't matter. Life goes on as usual. But stop and think, if this child were to be my child, Abiola Tinubu, if this child should have been your child, Governor of Lagos State, if this child were to have been your child, how would you feel? And what would you have asked to be done to the person that was paid to maintain or replace or do whatever to make sure that lift functions on a daily basis? What should be done to them if it were your child should be done to these people?
Thank you, Dr. Vicky. And obviously, from the introduction, that lift, has been malfunctioning for the past 6 years based on the information provided, in the intro. So it's not just, an accident. It's just negligence, on the part of the facility manager, and does not is just a criminal act. And I agree with you and Mr. Nwashiko that the perpetrators should be brought to justice. On that same, on the same topic, I'll go to Mr. Nwashiko now. Let's talk about safety issue and response. This particular young doctor was stuck in the elevator for about 1 hour, and the engineers called to dismantle the elevator. Took time, to get there. What does this tell us about attitude to safety in the country, Mr. Nwashiko?
Wale, safety, I would say our attitude to safety is neither here nor there. Again, I'm sorry, I'll be making comparisons here. Yeah, if that were to happen in a country like Australia, you're going to have the ambulance, you're going to have the police, you're going to have the fire service, all racing to that location. So I'm not sure what manner of emergency services, that were called to respond to this situation. What with the traffic that exists in Lagos, or the lackadaisical attitude of our people. I've seen instances where, someone rocks up to the police station and says, "Look, a lady was." I'll give you a short story. Was driving. A guy was driving home. Was on the phone to his wife while he was driving home in Lagos, and then all of a sudden, the lady says to her husband, "Armed robbers are here." This guy ducks into the police station. This happened in my local area. Ducks into the police station as he was driving and says to the police, "My house, my wife, my family are under siege. I need your help." can we race down now and try and rescue my family? Of course, they left the police station. Halfway through, one of the policemen go, "Oh, I need to get something from the market,"
Hey.
and forced this guy to stop right in the middle of the road. There, he was, apparently, maybe not prepared for the encounter or the confrontation that may ensue. Time wasting technique, goes into the market to try and get something, giving the armed robbers time to flee from that scene. Compare that to here. They'll be racing there straight away to confront the situation. So we're not quite there yet. I don't know. With the way we're going, it's going to take a long time. Imagine taking 2 hours to get to that destination to try and rescue this lady. There's no excuse. It's either someone, people don't, like I said before, people don't really care. Life is what nothing to a lot of our people, and those who are actually supposed to be protecting um, lives. So it's a shocking situation, something that really needs to be improved upon. Like I've seen on social media, you see, people where an accident has occurred, and what happens? Well, there's little or not a lot that the passers-by can do, but what do? They start filming and they going live, while live on Facebook, while the life of the one
Yes.
involved is being snuffed away slowly. We will talk about emergency response. Well, ambulance, like ambulance, unless it is changed now, is for picking up the dead. When you see
Yeah,
the ambulance, yeah, it's for picking up the dead, and not to respond to
so
emergency situations. We're not quite there yet. A lot needs to be done in that space. There need to be a lot of training. There need to be uh, people who be, I mean, just picture here in Australia, in a workplace, or even in a rented house. You cannot rent a house that with something as small as a smoke a detector not functioning, and that smoke detector, I think, needs to be checked every 6 months. In your workplace, my workplace, computer cords need to be checked by the electrician every now and then. When they check it, they put a tag on it to say, "This is the last time I checked it." That's when it is due. So, until we start taking things seriously, we're going to keep having this sort of situation.
thank you, Mr. Amashugo. I'm sure we spoke about this sometimes last year or early this year when there was that unfortunate incident at the school in Towsport, when a child was electrocuted. I'm sure we elaborately discussed on some of those things you mentioned around making sure that the electrical cords are well tagged and functioning. Let's look at, I'll go to Dr. Vicky now. So let's look at the irony of the whole situation. So a young medical doctor trained to save lives, working in a general hospital, and got a life taken away. The whole thing is just so ironic, in different levels. So emergency care was said to be almost zero inside the hospital. The accident happened right there.
In
Yet
a hospital.
Dr. Vwaere could not be saved. What does this say about emergency care in hospital across the country? What does this really say? If we had that situation, a medical doctor, there was an emergency situation, and anything but emergency care was there in terms of the initial response, and also even the kind of medical care available to this young woman before she died. Dr. Omifolaji.
It's quite sad, Wale. It's really, really sad. I look at the numbers of Nigerian doctors that moved from Nigeria to other parts of the world. They are so many, and the few that were there work mostly in private hospitals because majority of them do hold these private hospitals. So when you're talking about emergency response, where they actually, the doctors that were supposed to attend to the emergency, were they there on site, or they've gone and chased money, at private hospitals, at other hospitals, were they there? In most cases, you get to the hospital, you meet up with nurses, you meet up with auxiliary nurses. I mean, I had an emergency few years ago now, and I got to the hospital. No doctor, no nurse. It was an auxiliary nurse that was on site. My daughter's head, that had the big gash on it. The blood was pumping out like this on her head. And there wasn't any of the really trained personnel to attend to her. And this time, I mean, I was talking about 23 years ago. So they weren't there, they weren't on site. We had to wait. And the auxiliary nurse wanted to help. And then she grabbed a blade off a table. The blade already had rust on it. Now wanted to use that to scrape hair away from, the gash so that she can. And I had to scream, don't give my daughter HIV, please. I don't want, just leave it. All right. I sent somebody to go and buy me a new packet of blade. And she wasn't even happy with me. A trained nurse wasn't on site. They're wearing doctors on site. Everybody, they've gone and chased their own personal. And this can happen. This girl, it happened to her. It can happen to anybody else. Those that were supposed to be on site, where were they? Where were they? And it's not a job for one person. And even if they were there, the instruments that they need to actually deal with that emergency right there and then, were they there? Were they available? It's quite sad. We're talking about this. It happened to this girl. Now, who else is it going to happen to?
Yeah, so that's it's a big rhetorical question, Dr. Vicky. Looking at the time, I think we've covered. I wanted to really ask specifically around the exodus of doctors, and I think that one is as clear as a broad daylight. I was, delve into that area around the impact of these on doctors that are leaving the country.
And why won't they leave, my brother?
Yeah.
Why won't they leave? Now, these girls' colleagues, do you just imagine what that will be doing to them?
Trauma.
The trauma.
Do you see the video? The video I shared on a group chat. I dropped a video there called Channels TV. I saw it online, and some of the doctors' colleagues, a sort of protest. They were talking. They were all young, vibrant doctors. Just talking and demanding justice. For the death of their colleague.
And you know what? It's not just that. Even where they live, where they were made to live, they were talking about electrical faults all over the place. Nobody's attending to it. Who else is going to die for somebody to do something, for government to do something? Who else is going to die? And for that girl to even get to that point in her life, if you know what these people do go through, it's not a joke at all. Even we that we didn't do medicine, it wasn't a joke. Not to talk about these people after all these years, now they get to that point whereby they are getting cold doctors. They have to serve not just the consultant, they serve the consultant's wife. The doctors, the consultant, their wives, they will be sending them to market on errands. Go and get me water, go and pack this for me, go and buy me pepper from the market. That's it's part of the culture that I was thinking about it because I was speaking. We have a young doctor in our practice right now who graduated from Ukraine,
Okay.
but because of the war between Ukraine and Russia, this young man couldn't do his housemanship. So he went back to Nigeria because of the war. He had to rush down to Nigeria. There are two of them like that I've had conversations with. This guy went to Nigeria and he got to Nigeria to do his housemanship because he cannot be fully licensed without the housemanship. He
Partnership, yeah.
got there, somebody that was trained in Ukraine now comes to Nigeria. Of course, Nigerian consultants will treat him like others. So sending him to the market, fetching water for the dog, for the consultant's wife. This young man couldn't handle it. We may call it arrogant, but it's just not ideal. I was speaking with him and I was just like, do they still do that in Nigeria? Yes, they do. And that was the second person that was telling me this. He couldn't handle it. He left. The other person also left. Sending them on errands, serving the consultant, the wives of the consultant, they're supposed to be working in the hospital so that they can complete their housemanship. They couldn't because of the culture that needs to be looked into and eradicated. It's what I call it. It's just it it's not real. It's not right. It's not. So having gone through all this, now look at what happened to her, and that's the same story again and again from these young people. Something needs to be done.
Absolutely, it's quite a very pathetic situation. So I'll move on to Mr. Nwachukwu now, and this has to do with the fact that Lagos State government actually owns that hospital. So many people, have said that as the owner of the hospital, the Lagos State government should be liable. They should be liable for this, criminal negligence, and for whatever reason, money must have been allocated for maintenance of this facility. Based on the reports, this is an elevator that has been malfunctioning for more than 6 years. So if they are doing the normal monthly or yearly checks, this is not new. So someone needs to be liable for this. So what is your position on this? Is Lagos State government liable as the owner of that facility?
101%, Wale. They're liable. They're liable. They own the facility. It's their responsibility to also ensure there are safety standards in place to ensure all of the facilities within that facility are actually functioning. They should have people conduct regular checks. And to be honest, I'm not sure anyone can defend or say that people from within the government who are actually supposed to be looking after this facility are not aware that lift was malfunctioning. If it's happened over the last 6 years, the problem started 6 years ago, definitely someone in charge must be aware. Now, whether they are liable, yes, they are. In this climb, again, I'm not going to stop, comparing. I know no money can compensate for the life that has been lost. But in this climb, they will be paying they will be paying huge sums of money to that family that lost their
Millions of dollars.
paying millions of dollars. But again, as Dr. Vicky stated, it's all about the culture. We also have a culture, government not paying compensation. So even if that family was to go to court and the court gave the order to say, pay this family X amount of money, are they gonna pay? Yeah. So until something serious starts happening in that space, until there are consequences for people's actions or inactions, we'll continue to have this sort of situation. And look, it's happening because no one gets punished per se, except of course if you're a political opponent or you've gone to the other side, and then the hammer will come down. That's where you see them, chasing each other around with either EFCC or what's the other one, IP, whatever they call it. That's the only way for witch hunting. But to do things properly as it ought to be done, no one gives a hoot. So yeah, they're 100% liable, whether they're sacking people or not. It's their responsibility. In law, I'm not a lawyer. I think it's called a vicarious liability. You're liable for the actions of your employees indirectly because you employ them. You own that facility. So, but trust me, I have no confidence or no belief that even if that family was to take up, like her colleagues demanding for justice from who? Is it justice from the government
Doesn't care.
doesn't care or even employs the judges there? A lot of things need to change. And I've read somewhere people are advocating, like with the government appointing judges or at the federal level or the state level, the state chief justice is appointed by the government of the day. Those things are actually things, they're all intertwined. Those are things that actually need to change. The judiciary needs to be totally independent and not relying on funding from the government so that people can do their jobs objectively. So until something serious starts happening in that space, until we begin to change that culture of, oh, look, it's normal. It's we're not, we're not going to see any change. And I'll backtrack a bit. So it's funny how it's ironic that the same hospital where if something had happened outside, this incident had happened outside and someone was brought in there, you would expect that the doctors there will look after this lady, is the same place where she couldn't get help. Compare it with a situation where, you've got NEPA that is supposed to be, what are they called now? Is it still NEPA? I understand the name has changed. NEPA is supposed to, their role is to make sure people have electricity to run their businesses, to run their homes. In my local area, while we had been to the NEPA station one time, and NEPA, who was supposed to be giving us that, was running the generator.
They're using generator, yeah. So
that shut me up straight away. So yeah, it's it's unacceptable behavior. People need to. I mean, there's a lot going on. The least you can do is at least make sure that your people are safe and make sure those facilities are there for them to enjoy and not be worried about. I mean, accidents can occur, but this is a case of total, complete negligence.
Negligence.
Yeah. But they're liable. They're 100% like more than anybody else that is involved. The government, is most liable.
Thank you, Mr. Awashiko. So I need to move fast now. Looking at the time, I'll go to Dr. Vicky. Still talking on this particular topic, the sad death of Dr. Diaso Vwaere. The Lagos State government has sacked the facility managers and the GM of Lasiama, but no one has been charged. We don't want to preempt anything here. Could be they are still doing their investigation. Are we suspicious that just as we're used to, they trying to play their games again and sweep this under the carpet? So on this show, we're using this forum to strongly demand, for justice, for Dr. Diaso Vwaere. So what do you think? You made reference to it earlier, Dr. Vicky. So what do you think in terms of laying charges and making sure that at least people responsible for this through their negligence, get what they deserve, from law?
There are two things that I in cases like this, or if anything like this should happen, there are two things that should happen. Number one, the person who might have been paid a sum of money to fix it, to repair, to do whatever, and this thing kept giving problems. Are there reports to that? Oh, we can't fix it, it has to be replaced, and what needed to be done? If money had exchanged and nothing it's not happening, then somebody needs to pay for this. Pay in terms of go to prison, charged with manslaughter. This is criminal. Now, when something like this happens, it's a way to see and to make sure we have a system in place so that it doesn't happen again. Not just at that particular hospital, but in all hospitals all over the country. In this country, we can compare because we've seen both, right? In this
Absolutely.
country, why do you think we have all these policies and procedures? And why do you think they do that? Because they've seen things that happen that they believe it shouldn't happen and it mustn't happen again. So they make sure that if you are going to open a facility, there are rules and regulations, there are policies and procedures that you need to have in place. This mustn't happen to anybody again. No parent should go through what this lady's parents are going through right now. No parent. So what do we need to put in place so that this doesn't happen? If you have a building that you've dedicated for a medical hospital, for a medical center, is it safe? Is everything in there safe for people to use? Or is will it cause death? How do you make sure that it is safe? How do you make sure that people can stay there, they can work there, go back home and be safe? What do you need to do? It's making sure there are people checking and marking it and dating it. Few months ago, I got a new car. I reversed that the day I brought my new car to my house. I was distracted. I reversed my car into the garage. My car was fine, perfectly fine, but my garage was damaged beyond repair. Couldn't use the garage for 4.5 months. So I had to replace the garage. I got back home. The garage was replaced on Wednesday. I wasn't home. So I checked it last night when I got home. They put the date that they replaced the garage, the new garage installed today, which was the 9th. Was it that 9th? Yeah, the 10th of August. And they now put the date that they are going to check. I don't know what's the English word for that. That it has to be checked on this date, which is going to be 12 months time to the date that it was installed. They will send somebody to check it. I mean, why? Because they don't want somebody to get injured. These people, they are taking their business seriously. These people, they don't want anybody to get injured under their watch. that they fix this thing and then something happened in less than 12 months time, or in 12 months time their names will be mentioned. They don't want that. So we've already fixed this, it's fine right now. In 12 months time we'll come back and we double check it again if everything is fine. That's the way it should be. You double check everything, from the kettle that you use in heating up water, to the microwave, to the stethoscope, to everything that you use, just to make sure everybody is safe. It's not just having that building there. Building needs maintenance. So somebody needs to pay for this. The government. And the other thing that I really wanted to mention, I need to mention this, is that we all do have businesses. You can't go ahead with that business without having public liability insurance. You have to. It is compulsory. You cannot be providing services to members of the community and not have public liability insurance. Accident happens. Now, this parent, they cannot lose in all ways. That's why the insurance comes in. It's not going to be the government paying. Yes, they pay for the insurance, but the insurance is supposed to pay for this. But has the government done anything about that before? No. So when things like this happen, it's a call, it's a way to get everybody to sit up. Now, we don't want this to happen again, but if it happens, or no matter if it happens, what do we do? What do we need to have in place now?
Thank you, Dr. Vicky. Looking at the time, I go back to Mr. Washiko. In 60 seconds, Dr. Vicky actually delved into issues around overhauling the system and the need to sanitize the system. And that is actually my last question on this topic. How can we sanitize the system to prevent future reoccurrence? Mr. Washiko.
Well, a lot of that has been mentioned already. Wale, government needs to, not just government, I mean, she gave an instance of her garage. I mean, for something as small as a garage door that was fixed, there's a date to check it. There needs to be serious safety standards in place. I mean, finish a house here, there's something called certificate of occupancy. Before you can occupy that house, someone needs to come in to check that everything is okay and that house is fit for habitation. That's for a small house, a single residential dwelling. And now we're talking about a facility that is how many story high, and no one is looking after that building. There's nothing on earth, you tell me, that if money had exchanged hands, that those who actually are supposed to be looking after that facility did not know something about that money, because they'll be asking questions. It's been there for 6 years. So something serious needs to happen in that space. Safety is serious business. We're talking about human lives here. We're not talking about clothes in the shop or Bonvita on the shelves. Human lives. These are things, clothes you can replace, Bonvita you can replace, but once a human life is extinguished, there's nothing anyone can do about it. Are they not bothered because it hasn't happened to them directly? So something serious needs to be done there. There needs to be, safety standards in place. And as Dr. Vicky mentioned, public liability insurance, even with our small organizations that we run here. I'm not even talking about business. Our community organizations, to hire a hall, Wale, we need to show that we have public liability insurance that will have cover up to 10, 20 million dollars, so that if something happens, there's insurance to, have our back and make sure those who have been affected are duly compensated. So there needs to be a system in place. A system is what is lacking, a system that works. There's a system, but that system is fraught with very bad attitude. I don't care attitude. So I'm sure all of these things will be existent in Nigeria, but just on paper. No one is actually putting them into practice. I can only guess that they're there, because you can't have a workplace and not have, safety standards.
Yeah.
Exactly. They will be there. It's just a question of implementing, making sure those who are saddled with these responsibilities are actually carrying them out, because it's not fair what's happened to this family. It should not happen to anyone. So those safety standards need to be implemented, and someone overseeing those who are actually implementing them. I mean, you're driving on the streets of Victoria here on the roads, Wally. You see them big trucks going on the roads. You can have, I don't know what they are called, pull them over, make sure, that everything is okay with that big truck. They're checking your papers, checking that everything is ready, because that way you're keeping the driver safe. You're also keeping other roads users, the community safe as well. So, I mean, you can't even put a bike on the road here. I'm not talking about a motorbike. I'm talking about a bicycle. You can't go on the road without on a bicycle without your helmet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the rule. So safety needs to be taken seriously. It's serious business, and we cannot continue to lose. People lose their lives due to negligence. Something that could have been avoided. This is where it's landed. This family now. You're not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. I don't feel their pain, but I know whatever they feel right now is horrible. Neither yourself or me or anybody else wants to be there. So safety is a serious business and needs to be addressed as such.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ombashiko. We hand over to Dr. Vicky to close the show. So our deepest condolences to Dr. Diaso Vwaere for that very short but impactful life, in terms of training to be a doctor and, working at the hospital. We pray for, soul to rest in peace, and, for the good Lord to grant our family the fortitude to be at the loss. Over to you, Dr. Vicky.
Wow. Let's just pray that somebody up there in the government is able to watch this. I mean, it's a painful thing for the parents, for the colleagues, for the nurses and everybody else who saw what happened and who knew this young lady. May her soul rest in peace. Thank you, Mr. Wale Olaito, for moderating the show. And Mr. Elvis Nwachuku, hopefully it won't take 3 months before we see you again on the show. And to all our viewers that watched today, we appreciate you. We say thank you. Please share what you think needs to be done. We'd like to know what your thoughts are around this. We'll be back again next Friday, same time, 8 p.m. Melbourne, 8:30.
8:30 p.m. Yes.
It's been a long day. Thank God it's Friday. So it's 8:30 p.m. Melbourne time, and I believe 11:30 a.m. Niger time. Hope to see you then. You all have a lovely weekend. May God bless you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria. Giant of Africa. Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria. The Nigeria we want. With Vikiyomi Folaji. Yemi Shodimu. Wale Olaito. I can see what you